Hello, hello. There we go. Alright, now you can hear. Cool. Just needed to make a quick change there and get make sure that the microphone was actually the source for the mic. The correct one. But yeah, we're all good now. I do apologise that this has actually started a bit later than I was hoping. I was hoping to get this going about an hour ago. However, work has kept me busy this evening sorting a bunch of things. And I'm also just now waiting for the current, what should I say, latest patch for Le Mans Ultimate to actually download. So I can jump in and we can get to work doing some practice and setup related stuff ready for tomorrow's race at the Circuit of the Americas in the World Endurance Championship, Online Championship. But either way, it's good to see a couple of you have tuned in here. Hope you're doing good. Once again, thank you very much for becoming a member, becoming part of the pit crew, and supporting myself and the channel. I apologise as well that I didn't actually get to stream last night like I originally planned on doing. Work has been very, very stressful as of late as we're gearing up towards some things, which you'll see in the near future, and that's kind of had me stressing and run down. I'm not feeling particularly great, or at least yesterday I wasn't, but I managed to get a good night's sleep and I'm feeling much better. That big bright white screen, or white shine on my face, is going to be the game actually firing up, so we are loading in, and we'll be getting out onto the track very, very shortly. But hope you're all good. Do say hi in the chat. As it'll be good to hear from you. And of course, this is a great opportunity for you to ask any questions that you may have in regards to the game, setups, setup works, how to drive the cars, tracks, all that sort of thing. It's a good opportunity, 1-on-1, obviously, or 1-on-4. There's a few of you here. Yeah, it's a good opportunity for you to get your questions out, for us to get to know each other a little bit better. Obviously, I try and answer as many questions as I possibly can, even in the usual live streams that I do. But it's a little more tricky when there's quite a bit more chat going on, and obviously, I'm also trying to focus on the driving aspect as well. Right, as you can see, loading into the session for the first time. So, just taking a look here at what other people are doing. A 2080 is the fastest time at the moment in the GTE class, and they've been doing it on the softs. So, let's gear ourselves up ready for doing something similar. I think I was doing something like that previously. Leave the preload as is for now. It's 100% brake pressure. 33 on the front. And interestingly, we're at 5 wing again, like last time. So we'll see how this actually goes. This is the Le Mans preset as the default, as I tend to find that I prefer the Le Mans default preset more than the Coach Dave one. But we shall see how we actually get on. We head out onto the circuit now. Oh, that's really sad to see. Oh, they're in front of us. The Porsche, hearing that they'll no longer be participating in the World Endurance Championship, which is a real shame. Obviously, they're struggling for money a little bit, and they've decided to end the WEC program in the top class in the hypercars. But they will be continuing over in IMSA. I imagine the actual costs associated with competing in that championship are going to be fair bit lower than they are competing in WEC. Just remember there's one thing that I need to do for the car as well. So we'll go and park it over here real quick. Need this, and that. There we go. It's just so the rev lights on my steering wheel actually match up with the ideal shift points for the car in game. So this is a completely new combination to me. I've not driven this car, or any GTE cars, in fact, around COTA at all. Obviously I've driven GT cars, GT3s, so at least I know what they're like, but GT's a very different kettle of fish, and as I can tell already, there's an awful lot of... It's quite a lot of rotation in the slow speed corners, which is nice for a front wheel drive car. Like, this should be very, very strong in the first sector, but weaker in sector 2 and 3. But with the amount of rotation, as you can see already, it's a little bit surprising. Kind of caught me off guard a little bit there. There's a lot of looseness from the rear, but I imagine that's due to stiffer rear springs. As I remember softening things quite a bit for Sebring. Obviously, one thing with these GTE cars is they don't have ABS, so gotta be careful with that under braking. An odd little snap there. Looks like the brake bias reasonably far rearwards as well. Yeah, you even need to be harder on the brakes for the final corner or earlier. That guy did a 209 before he left. Try and remember that. There's a lot of oversteer. what the brake temps are like coming into this braking zone here. Too bad, they're getting a little warm. I think that'll be alright, to be fair. Yeah, so much rotation. Which is nice for a corner like this, where you want it. It's only going to help the high speed stuff. Made sure to actually get the car slowed down that time for the final turn, just so we're not invalidating our lap straight away and we can actually try and get 1 or 2 times on the board to reference against. Might have to go down slightly on the brake strength just to kind of prevent this locking that we're getting. So I'm just obviously trying to identify all the issues or areas of the car that I want to improve at this early stage. It's 1 or 2 things that I want to try out and actually figure out on this car as well, because both Sebring and this circuit have been running 5 wing, whereas the rear wing goes up to 10. I'm curious as to how much running max wing is actually going to impact our straight line speed. It's that I haven't actually figured out. So we need to investigate and have a look into that. We're hitting 251. I don't feel overly confident in the car at the moment. Feels like it's moving around a bit too much for my liking. Ah, Barkley's in. That's good. Because he's a very, very quick driver. He actually comes out on track and sets some laps. We'll have a decent reference time to measure ourselves against. Right, we're definitely a lot quicker than the person who was in here earlier, even on a default setup, so that's good. Because I should be able to get that corner flat out like I can in the GT3s. A bit better. Still quite shy off the apex. There's a lot of tyre wear as well. We've done... what? We're on our 5th lap and we're down to like 85% wear on these softs. Better in terms of braking. Say it feels like that corner should be second. Okay, 2075, and that felt fairly reasonable. Right. I am going to do 2 changes. We should go down 2 clicks on that, and I am going to try max wing. Just to see how much that actually impacts our straight line speed, because we're hitting 251, 252, in and around there on the straight. So if we're fairly close to that with max wing, there may be something in that where we can run the car with a much higher downforce sort of setup, which is going to really help us in this first sector here, and also the other sectors as well. It's quite cool seeing that Porsche 963 in a classic Porsche livery. Works quite nicely on there. Obviously, we're on colder tyres here, so we may not be quite as representative this time round, but hopefully in the future laps we'll get a better idea as to how much of a top speed deficit we're going to have. Looking at about 5Ks at the moment, but we maybe get a better exit. Might be able to diminish it a little bit. Definitely feels more planted though in a lot of the higher speed stuff. Just in general. We'll see. There is more downforce there, acting on the rear, but there you can see just how much we do lose. So about half a tenth on the run to turn 1. With that brake change as well, it does feel a bit more confidence inspiring on the brakes. And through here as well, I can kind of push and lean on the car a fair bit more, as you can see. So whilst, yes, there is more understeer than before, I feel like I can push the car more. Right, we're going to be losing all the way down this straight. Yeah, I reckon about 4 or 5Ks. What we're now missing out on. But maybe I ought to get some of that back. Okay, we're finding some pace. Yeah, we can brake later than the 100-meter marker there. Let's look up there. I think I've just realised something. I think I've got this. Live stream set to public, but the chat is on members only. When this was meant to be a members only live stream, like full stop. But hey, welcome everyone. This is what you would get to see if you were a member. I'm gonna come into the pits in a second and I'm just gonna do that now. Change it so the chat is fully public. If the live stream is fully public. Privacy, public, yes. Alright. There we go. So, everyone can now chat. If you can test that out for us, that'd be great. Only fans only? Yep, there we go. Thanks, Thor. I'm a silly Billy. Okay. Right, what am I doing? I am saving this setup, first and foremost. Right, so yeah, everyone can chat. Welcome along, everybody, to the live stream. This is what I would usually be doing for a members-only stream if I had set up the stream settings correctly to be members-only, which is what I was meant to be doing. But here is, I guess, your sneak preview of what you can be seeing in the future with regards to, I guess, the practice process, setting up the car ready for races and events and all that good stuff. Okay, so our rear suspension is ready the softest as it can go, and it doesn't have any packers attached to it. We're going to take the packers out on the front and see what that is like. We can go down quite a bit on the front as well. Rear ride height is relatively nice. Quite a bit of rake in there. 22 centimeters difference. I'm wondering what it's going to be like. This all feels good. This I don't need a touch or change. We're already minimum camber, which is the way to go with these GTE cars. Maybe fiddle with a brake bias. Maybe go forwards a click, but actually at this point here at 98%, it feels good. I'm going to play with a preload later on. Traction control settings feel good. Dampers are alright. And then we can play around with their anti-roll bars later as well. But let's see if changing the front suspension ride heights, or not the ride heights on the front suspension, changing the spring stiffness on the front suspension and removing the packers is going to improve our straight line speed. That is the hope door. That is the hope. Hopefully we do get the car set up right. I am finding that generally the softer the cars, the better they behave. Both prototype and also GT wise. There's a... Okay, that front end feels really nice now. Without overpowering the rear. And we're on cold tyres. Let's see how we do on the straight. Hello, Luke. Right, we want to be close to 251. 252. 248 was our previous best. 248 there. See, lower fuel is going to help. Strange how both ACC and LMU favour soft springs. PC2 seemed more realistic in respecting stiffness to extract lap time. Yeah. It's I don't know about all the cars in Project Cars 2, but I know certainly the Indy cars and the LMP1 2016s, there was a lot of aerodynamic grip to be found by playing with the ride height of the car, especially at higher speeds. If you got those right, you could get yourself an awful lot of grip and lap time, and our aero model for the IndyCar was probably at the time the most realistic aero model for the IndyCars that a lot of drivers driving those cars at the time seen. We got a lot of really positive feedback from a few IndyCar drivers saying that it's really, really good, and the numbers that were coming out were matching with the data that we had got from Lara and various teams, which is really, really promising. I don't know about the GT3 cars and other things like that. Obviously, it's a bit more of a mixed bag across the whole spectrum, but it does feel like there is some simplicity here in both LMU and ACC, in the sense that the lower the car is to the ground, the more grip there is, which there is truth in that as well, providing that you are not... Kind of depends on the aerodynamics of the car, because like with the Indy cars and the LMP1 cars in Project Cars, there's so many different elements to the underbody aero that whilst yes, you want the car nice and low, and lowering the front is going to improve that front end grip, so only mechanically, aerodynamically you could be sealing off the floor and not allowing as much air to get through underneath those Venturi tunnels and getting that ground effect and get into the rear diffuser. So in some cars, if you were running the front too low, you would actually be losing downforce on the rear to an extent, because there isn't enough air getting through to it, even though the pressure is, there's a high amount of pressure going underneath the car. Obviously, GT cars have a much simpler floor, where it's mostly flat. There's not really much in the way of vortices or vertex generating elements until you get to the rear diffuser. So there's not like little lips at the splitter or just behind the front wheels at the leading edge of the floor there that kind of seal off the floor and prevent air from spilling out underneath. Instead it kind of creates basically the effect of what the exhaust blown diffusers were doing, if you've ever looked into those on the old 2011 Red Bulls, where they were using the exhaust gases to seal off the sides of the diffuser to prevent air and wash coming in from the sides of the floor, and making sure that any of the wash coming off the rear wheels wasn't really penetrating into the diffuser and creating excess drag. Just make sure that the air flowing into and through the diffuser was all nice and clean. So yeah, GTs don't really have that, and it could be just like a kind of simplification in the physics, in the sense that the lower the better. Because ACC was all about getting the car as low to the ground as you possibly could and then holding it there. Hence the really soft bump settings, and then the really stiff rebound settings, because what that was effectively allowing the suspension to do is compress really quickly, or at its fastest rate, to get the car nice and low to the ground, but then resist the extension of the suspension and slow the rate at which the car comes back up. Obviously, there was in a number of cars like the BMW M4 where playing with the rake of the car was having a overall aerodynamic bias effect as to whether it was kind of more of a forward or rearward bias, which I imagine they have similar to here, because I've been getting mixed results with regards to moving the rear diffuser up and down. In some cars it's felt like going up has gone into deeper into a window where I'm getting more downforce on the rear rather than going down where you think that there would be more grip. So it feels like there's kind of a sweet spot to be had with the rear of the car. Not found that perfectly for every single car. I think I've got into the right sort of ballpark with a number of my setups for a couple of the cars in the past. But generally what I've been finding is the lower you can get the car and the softer you can get the car, the better. We are still locking up a little bit. I have been talking a fair amount there, so let's try and actually focus on another lap here and see if we can improve things a bit more. Push the car, because obviously we've got a lot more grip on the front end now compared to previous runs, and we still got that nice lovely high amount of rear wing, so we should have some good downforce on the rear as well. A bit early on the brakes there, but ow! Damn it, I validated this lap just by going a touch over. Is that going to lead to a higher top speed? No, still about 248. Need to get the braking down on this. On this car. Actually feels really good. Yeah, there's quite a bit of rotation there, but it was nice. Alright, let's go for one more. I almost feel scared to touch that rear wing now. Now that we've gone like to maximum, the car feels like really good and planted. I don't want to go and take away too much of it because it's providing some really nice grip here in the high speed stuff. It's just obviously making us a little slow on the straights. And it's not like I can bring the rear lower or play with the rear ride height to try and get some of that stability back. Maybe a case of playing around and finding out whether it's going to be going up on the rear ride height is going to be better or going lower. And yeah, you're right there, Andrax, in the sense that the lower the car you have, the less drag you're effectively producing. So you are going to be helping your straight line speed. Alright, I don't think we actually improved on this run. We would have if I didn't invalidate my lap, but invalidate this one and the next. Let's see what we can do. I like this change. That was a good step in the right direction. That feels fine. I think I'll leave the diff as it is because it feels good. It's not like it's understeering when off throttle. It's more oversteer that I'm getting, and it's not bad getting on throttle on traction either. It's not spinning up the rear wheels, so I think that is fine. This we could probably drop down, Bill. And obviously we're going to increase toe. Interesting. Hey Reef Avaro. Usually don't catch your streams, but thanks for always sharing status with the community. Sometimes it feels overwhelming having lots of paid setups. Yeah, it's good that there are a lot of setup shops out there. I do wish they do more free setups. I've considered doing paid setups numerous times in the past, but I've always had this thought of wanting to help and improve everybody else's ability to drive, race, and compete, because the more people there are that are competing on a similar level, the better it's going to be for everybody. It's boring when you're kind of you're racing by yourself or you feel completely hopeless because everyone else in front of you have got paid setups and they're just romping away off into the distance and there's nothing you can do to catch up with them. Whereas, yeah, if you've got yourself a decent setup, then at least you can compete, and the more people who can compete at a faster, higher level, the better. The more competition, the more fun the racing's going to be, the less lonely you're going to ultimately feel. One thing that I need to do more with the channel, but it's more educational stuff and kind of helping everyone else out, because there's a lot of do this and do that tutorials out there, but there's not some that are necessarily explaining as they do explain why. They don't necessarily show the process to get there. I've fallen foul of that. Sure. It's very, very difficult to do, but it's like telling people to do a certain something to improve, but then not giving them the tools or the knowledge as to why and how to improve and get there, I think is the connection that's kind of missing. And it's something that I want to push my channel in that kind of direction of doing more educational stuff and kind of breaking it down into easier to understand terms and giving you guys the tools to help, say, like, learn setups. What exactly do all the dampers do, which are a bit of a dark art? Kind of give you a little bit of confidence and some knowledge to start playing around with them, rather than just doing so blindly and kind of hoping that you end up in the right ballpark. Because whilst, yeah, you kind of need, like, Motec in order to be able to truly understand what's going on with your dampers. You can make changes to the dampers without Motec and kind of get them in the right sort of area. My only real issue with doing that is finding the time to actually do it and make those videos. That's the thing that is lacking at the moment, which is why I'm kind of leaning quite heavily on the live streams for producing content, because it is a much easier and simpler way of doing content. I can, as I'm doing now, drive, talk, stream, and then wham bam, that's it done. Now obviously it's not as good as long form videos because YouTube doesn't push it as much, and the overall viewership on a live stream is always much lower than what you get on a video, just because of the nature of the two forms of content. Not everyone's going to commit an hour and a half, 2 hours, however long the live stream is, to sit through and watch it all, especially if that streamer isn't the most entertaining. And I'm aware I'm not the most entertaining of streamers in comparison to others. Maybe take Jimmy Broadbent or Jardier, for example. Their general passion shines through in other ways in comparison to how mine does. Like, Jimmy quite enjoys meme content and kind of popping jokes and stuff like that. So it's more entertaining in a sort of like funny aspect, even if he's obviously a very good driver, but he's not necessarily the quickest. But he's obviously built a very strong community and that around him that really enjoys his style of live streaming and video content. Likewise with Jardier, he's always so happy and having a great time. that really shines through. Plus, he's got the added bonus of actually being a very, very, very good skilled driver who's always competing up in the top 10 and usually battling for the podiums, if not the race win. So it's a natural draw in that sense to someone like him who's always happy, highly motivated, and kind of motivating the stream as well at the same time, whereas I'm obviously quieter. I'm not as hyped as those two guys, as say specific examples actually are, but I like to think I'm entertaining in other ways, and I like to think there's also a bit of a market for someone who is a little bit more chill, because I have had people in the past who have said that they enjoy my streams quite a lot just because I'm not always quite as loud as other people are. So they feel like they can chuck it on, have it in the background, and kind of more casually watch it in comparison to other streamers. Obviously it's just different strokes for different folks really, but I'd like to think that there's an element of education in every stream. I hope. I don't know. You guys can obviously confirm whether that is the case or not. I hope there's some sort of reason or attraction as to why you guys tune into my live streams every week. Obviously I appreciate it massively, and it's really cool that you guys do come and join me, and it's nice to have you all along for the ride. I just like sharing what I enjoy with other people, so, and hopefully give them something to learn from. Okay, so even at this point with 8 wing, this is feeling good. We've gotten some of the speed back, not as much as obviously we had on 5 wing. But at the moment it's a nice balance between some straight line speed and some stability in the high speed corners. Obviously we're running on soft tyres at the moment, which are degrading very, very quickly. So I'm going to need to try out the medium tyres just to see what they're actually like, because they're probably going to be the better race tyre. It's nice to see that the wear rate is actually pretty even front and rear. Right, let's go for one more. Especially if we've got a good exit off that final corner there. You watched the audio but the sound off. I enjoy watching Jadio. He's, as I said, both very, very good in terms of driving, which a lot of people do like. They see it across all games. Players who are generally very, very good do attract a lot more people naturally. But he's also, I think he talks the right amount. He's quiet at times, but other times he is like pumped up, full of energy, and nicely loud without being too much. So you do get some people who are just like shouty and screamy, and I don't like that. Thankfully, he's not that. Right. Nice. Yeah. Right. I am happy with that progression in that direction. No. I'll leave all those things. What time is it now? 9:09. Right. What's the lowest? 5. See, this is the thing. Do I go and drop it by like 10 as an experiment just to see how much of a change in the overall balance that actually makes? Or is that going to be me overstepping the window? Say like I'm at the higher end of the window at 7.2. Say like, I don't know, the sweet spot is like 6.8 or 6.9, but the bottom end of the window, ideal window range, is in and around 6.5, 6.6. Obviously 6.2 is going to be too low, so we may find ourselves at a point where we're not getting enough downforce at the rear and the car's just moving around too much, and it feels like there's not really much difference between 7.2 and 6.2. Likewise, if I go up, you can go up pretty high. Going clicks the 3. I'd usually advise obviously going smaller incremental clicks. I'm trying to experiment and quickly find differences and gain a little bit of data and knowledge quickly, as I am time limited. Obviously, if I was starting this like an hour earlier, then I'd be a lot more patient with these changes. The other thing is, having been doing setups for quite a while and kind of worked out the overall general direction that it should be going in with the car setup, and knowing what each aspect of the car setup is actually going to do when I go and change it, have a lot more confidence in actually making larger changes and multiple changes at the same time. One thing that I should do, as it got recommended to me on Monday night, is download Tiny Pedal. I'll be able to see me ride height in real time. Which would be very, very useful. Especially in an MP2 car, which now doesn't like to be bottoming out. Does feel like quite a nice change that we have just made. Obviously, with there being less brake now, with a smaller difference between front and rear, there is now less natural rotation of throttle, but there's still plenty of it. The car just feels that little bit more composed And I feel like the car is more doing things in response to my inputs rather than the car just doing things naturally and me kind of having to manage and try and control that. Definitely does feel like there's, yeah. Highest speed is where I'm noticing that difference though. Although, a lot more comfortable going full throttle off the exit turn 9, or through turn 9. Not too worried about the lap invalidations, that's fine. Definitely feels like there's more pace in the car. I can we get mid 206 maybe, if we manage to hook everything up. Not by doing that. Okay. Right. So it feels like a step in the right direction, so I am going to save this. Version 3. I am going to go with one more click and I'm going to take some wing off because it feels like the car's starting to feel really nice in the slow speed stuff, but in the higher speed it feels like there's just a little bit too much downforce on the rear. The car is starting to understeer a little bit. So we shall go with that for now. And the next thing I'm going to try after this is fiddle with the ARBs, as the front at the moment is very, very stiff in comparison to the rear. Fine with the rear being as soft as it is, but I reckon we could probably go some clicks softer on the front. Yeah, just a little bit more front end. I am noticing that I am enjoying a strong front end in Le Mans Ultimate. Providing that the rear is stable enough to keep up as well. One thing I might do though before trying that anti-roll bar change, because I do generally like the overall balance of the car at the moment, try the medium tyres just to see how much slower they are in comparison to these softs. Now we should gain some straight line speed back again after taking some of the wing off, because we're going to be producing less drag. See where we are now. Back in around the 251. So we've gained a kilometre and a half, maybe 2 kph in comparison to where we were on 8 wing. Yeah, just coming off the exit, like that corner there, the car's turning for me a little bit better. Not necessarily having to ask for it. Right, let's see what we can do in terms of lap time. We've got a Valkyrie coming up behind us. And in a bit too early there. A lot of curb. We got the line right. Could have taken that flat. Good exit, and that lower wing is going to help us all the way down along this straight. Just going to continue to eat at lap time. Open middle sector, things we like to see. Car is washing a bit there on the entry to that. We're turning in and the car's just, front end's not quite gripping up. So I reckon a front ARB change will help that. Lost a little bit of time there in that final turn. Still, we're getting closer to those mid 206s. We nail turn one. We can gain a tenth and a half, I reckon. There we go, that's a bit better. Good to find the line a little bit more. Just there again, get a little bit more confident on the brakes. These slower speed corners here. That one's fine. Time round. We're getting a lot of rotation coming off the brakes through poor brake input or cars understeering. Right, let's try and nail turn one here. better. Nice. Bit too much wheel spin on the exit. Me partially on the curb. Okay. Again, that feels like a step in the right direction. Right, let's try medium tyres just to see what sort of pace they actually have, if any. Obviously, lower grip, but less wear. So they'll probably end up being the better race tyre. I did see a car flying through the air. What the hell was all that about? Especially as it flew from left to right. The opposite direction to where you go in turn 1. Ah, so strange. So now we're back to front end that doesn't bite as hard, but a rear end that is wanting to more freely rotate. Are we going to end up into effectively the same strategy as qualifying, where qualify on the set of soft, then run a set of medium in the race? But we didn't do that. We raced on softs, didn't we? Silly me. So everyone else went soft, apart from a few people. A few people did go mediums, and it seemed like they struggled more towards the end of the stint, or in the latter half of the stints, than the soft tyres did, despite the much faster wear rate of the softs. Either way, let's see. Let's see what actual performance there is in these. That we can, as we were in a GT car, hammer these curbs a lot more aggressively. Again, don't really care about invalid laps. We can still measure our pace to the softs. need to get my braking sorted for that hairpin. I think this final sector here is where the medium tyres are going to struggle in comparison to the softs, as we can see, losing quite a bit of lap time here. Okay, so we're 8 times slow on that lap, but there were some mistakes. When you got downforce acting on the tyres, it doesn't feel like there's too much of a difference. So that first sector, it's relatively comparable to the soft. It's only about 1.5 to 2 tenths difference. It is more just slower speed stuff. Half a second on that lap. It's a bit more representative. Brake too late for that one. How much you can really attack the curbs in these GTs. Something that they do in real life as well. I got a great video of it at Le Mans back in 2018. There's a video of it, I believe, on the channel called Below the Trees at Tetra Rouge. And there was 3 things that kind of stood out when capturing that video. One was how good the car sounded in the trees at Tetra Rouge. As you hear all the reverberations and kind of the echoes off the trees themselves, it kind of captured the sound really, really nicely, even though the cars are really close. So it's not like there's a significant amount of echo there. It really kind of filled the air with the noise of the cars and just kind of held that noise in there for a little bit longer, kind of amplifying it, which made it sound really cool. The second part was the difference between the prototypes and the GTE cars going through Techeroos. The GTEs were basically all four wheels up on that inside curb, if not over it. They were cutting it as much as they possibly could. The LMP2s were taking a little bit of the inside curb with their inside tyres, and then the LMP1s at the time were literally just skimming the edge of it, trying not to take too much of the curb at all, because it all just unstabilizes the aero platform of the car if you go and take curves too aggressively at that sort of speed. So the differences there were pretty significant and noticeable. And then the last thing was the skid marks. How it was both an additive and a subtractive process. So the car would go through, and if the tyre had gone over and was slipping and sliding across the surface, it obviously left a skid mark there on the ground. But then the next car that came through would either add to that skid mark or clean it up, depending on what the tyre was doing. Again, if it was sliding, then rubber would be laid down, leaving another skid mark over it or next to it, whilst picking up some of the loose rubber on the surface at the same time. Whereas a tyre that wasn't sliding at all, it was actually cleaning up those skid marks, kind of compressing them down into the surface of the track, cleaning up the very, very fine, loose shards of rubber. So you were seeing this constant evolving process over the course of multiple laps of these skid marks being laid down and then cleaned, and kind of creating this effect that isn't really well represented in a lot of racing games, where a lot of racing games just tend to make the racing line darker to indicate where it is. So like coming through here, you can see like the darker line is generally the line that you want to be on, and there's skid marks all the way through that. But what you actually tend to find is that the darkest parts tend to be right on the edge of the racing line, not necessarily directly on it. As cars run over it, it cleans that line up. That's the end of the session. But I'd say that the medium's a good half second to 7/10. Let's see if I can find it. There it is.
What if you could get your money moving with access to thousands?
Old video. Here we go. So yeah, watch the skid marks closely. So a new one laid down there. Cleaned up a little bit. LMP2 going through. Another LMP2 going through. New skid mark. New skid mark. Around there. Clean slightly. Oh, it all sounds so good. But yeah, you should be able to also notice the difference between the LMP1 cars and the GTs and the prototypes, of course. man, those RSI sound so good. Oh, I missed them already. But yeah, you'll see the GTs climbing up over that inside curve a lot more than the prototypes. So obviously LMP2 used the curve there. Look at that. Straight over the top, as is that one. Not quite as aggressively. But yeah, look how dark this line is here. And watch this change. So a little bit more rubber laid down. It's been shortened slightly. Again, cleaned up a little bit more. Look how clean it is now. Like, yes, there are a few skid marks there, but there's not as much. I also realised that my camera is probably also slightly in the way, but like, yeah, let's do that. Right. Look at this, 5-second difference. So before the cars go through, you can see predominant skid mark, small skid mark there, fairly predominant skid mark there. Cars go through. Big one on the outside gone. That bit there's gone. There's a slight new one here and that bit remaining. But like, jumping between those frames, you can see fairly substantial difference between the skid marks on the ground because the car has gone and cleaned that line up. So again there, look. Watch these two next cars. This one's laying one down, you can see it there. And then this one runs over it. Cleans it up, pretty much wipes it away. New big fat one laid there. So yeah, video's called Under the Trees at Tetraroos if you want to go and take a look at that for yourself. Right, let's get back to a little bit more practice. Okay. There should be a practice server back up again. Right, and one thing I am going to do whilst this loads in is actually two things. I'm going to load this up, so I want to see what the difference is in terms of what our tyre wear is actually like at the moment. Really helping. Okay, so we're marginally faster, or our fastest time is a little bit better than Barclays, and we've got a little bit more top end speed. That's what I wanted to see. Yeah, this is what I wanted to see. 2.8 on the front. 2.7 on the front, 3.5 on the rear. So yeah, we're taking nearly in and around like 3% off the front tires per lap on the softs, whereas on the mediums it's only around 2%. And it's pretty even front and rear, to be fair. To be fair, front and rear is pretty even on the softs as well. Five, 3, 6. And then the Porsche is pretty comparable too. They're doing very, very similar. Alright. Yeah, we don't need to see any more on that. Just what I wanted to do. See where we can find time in comparison to a 204. Bloody hell. It's on a warmer track. Sorry, warmer ambient. Cooler track. Cooler track. Okay, let's see what we're doing wrong. Alright, we don't quite have the speed on a straight line, and we're braking a little bit earlier than we need to be. And I'm not picking up the throttle early enough. We had a slight kick on throttle there. But our line could better through the turn. Music, please. And because of that, we're losing about a 10.5 through here, which is all completely flat out. 2-1 toward half a second through this sector. This section. As they are 12 kilometers an hour quicker than us on the entrance to the long right-hander. We are quicker through the long right-hander. We claw a little bit of time back there. I reckon we could definitely push a lot more through here, because I reckon that blue line, which is the reference lap time, is probably taking a lot more curb on the inside, whereas it was only later that we started really pushing through that and hammering that curb. And that makes us slow all the way through that section there. And then we had a slight lift, which has cost us some speed off the exit. Okay, through there it's relatively similar and comparable. It feels like this reference that we're comparing against is probably running lower wing. I need to be later on the brakes, more confident on the brakes, so we'll probably change the braking pressure to drop it down just a little bit more. There we go, just load it in. So, later. Yeah, I think we carried too much speed in there. Didn't get the car rotated enough. Through here we're pretty good. Look, a tighter line. Again, need to be earlier on the throttle on the exit. So earlier on the throttle and have the confidence to carry that all the way through the corner. Again, is using the accelerator to rotate the car. And more curb on the inside, but our apex speed is pretty good. Okay. Definitely some things to play around with them. I feel like we are too high on the wing. What was their speed on the straight again? They were hitting 255. Let's try 5 on the rear. See how that works. If it works. may find that going back to 5 on the rear wing may be the optimal way. We may just need to reduce the rear ride height down a little bit more and possibly take a couple of clicks of the front ARB out, which will give us a little bit more grip mid-corner on the front end. Less understeer. Definitely feel that lack of rear downforce now. We are on the max lip angle. Oh, yep. I wonder if going up on the PC slightly is going to help us out. Yeah. Driving turmoil like that is not going to help. Of course, the first sector is going to be purple because there's no GTE lap time yet. Oh, they hit 255. It's like another 4Ks. Purple means strict track limits, so yeah. Basically, when it's purple, no matter what you do, whether you lift or not, your lap time's being deleted. Which is due to the stricter track limits that this championship runs. Rear end's definitely moving around a lot more. Yes, it does. Yeah, you only really see it in the practice sessions on any events that have the strict track limits. Trying to touch the accelerator there. Ah. Here we go again. A little bit annoying that we had that big slide there. It's going to ruin this lap in terms of it being a benchmark reference time. Obviously, we do have 2067 from the previous session to use as the reference benchmark. It's just nice, obviously, having the delta there and the in the top right and on the steering wheel to reference against. That felt much better than pretty much every other time that I've run through that corner. This is a quali set that I'm working on, yeah. Well, quali slash race. .2072. I reckon if we nail that first sector, we're gaining half a second. Well, it's half a second. And it's losing it. Yeah, heavily outbrake myself there. Took away a whole bunch of time. See, at times the cuff was really good and stable on the brakes, and then other times it's locking up and wanting to rotate on me. No. Okay. There's a 2063 in there. Let's give something like that a go. Darth Viper, thank you very much for subscribing. If you're in the live stream, do say hi. Oh, you are, of course. You see, you just mentioned there. GTA? No, this is GTE. How many tyres do we have for quali? So we have 8 tyres for the whole event. So both qualifying and race. So obviously, I'll use 4 tyres in qualifying, to leave me with 4 new tyres for the race, and obviously those quali tyres, I will need to do a stint on them. Nope, the race is an hour and 40 minutes. That's a good, good endurance. Challenge is going to be figuring out what tyres to actually go with. I don't know, Luca. That's a unknown, unanswered question yet. Because soft tyres are definitely faster than the mediums, but you are right in that they do go very, 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 very quickly. Right, I got something to reference against. I'm going to move that brake bands forwards. It does feel like it might be marginally too rearwards. It's less than that. It's about 3%. It may just look like 4% because of either me having a poor lap or it going from say 94.1 to 90.9. Again, that one really that. Definitely feels a bit more race setup like. I have tried quality stint, yeah. They're about half a second a lap slower. Oh. Even that exit was still naff. Remember, by race setup you mean more forgiving safe. Exactly that, yeah. So the car's not rotating quite as much. There's a bit more of an understeer bias to it, especially in the higher speed. But it's still feeling pretty good and quick. This feels like where we could probably take a bit of diff out. And now just help through those higher speed corners when we're off throttle. Do one more. Invalid? Yep, there we go. Knew it was coming. How dare you brush the curb with both wheels off the exit? That happened. Four temps up with plenty of room to spare. Okay. I think that was ultimately a step in the right direction. Overall. As I say, I think my next move would be maybe a little bit less front anti-roll bar. And maybe a click more toe. And then I'll probably take some preload off as well. Maybe a click or two back up. 6.3, 6.4, I think is probably going to be the sweet spot. But I'd be changing front anti-roll bar and preload first. And kind of getting into that realm of where I want to be, I think. So, yeah, that is effectively a look at what I do with regards to practice for these races. As I mentioned at the start of the stream, this was meant to be a members only stream. It's what I will be doing in the future, is whenever I do practice sessions such as these on either a Tuesday or a Wednesday night, hopefully getting onto them much sooner than I have this evening. And also Sunday evening for the European Le Mans series is be streaming to those of you who have become a member here on the channel, become part of the pit crew. So you guys get to see this process and obviously ask me questions and talk and interact and kind of get an idea as to how I go about practice using the telemetry of Track Titan and figuring out a setup in preparation for the races. So if you want to see this sort of stuff in the future, make sure you click that join button down below. It is £5 per month to become a member of the pit crew here on the channel, and you'll get access to these member-only live streams. This one I messed up and accidentally made public when it should have been members only, but hey ho, at least it's giving you guys, ladies and gents, a bit of an insight as to what these streams will be like. You obviously get a nice lovely little badge next to your name as Free Miner is demonstrating. And then also early access to videos as well. And these sort of members-only live streams will remain members-only after the live stream has ended as well. They will not go fully public. Obviously, the normal races and everything that we do on the Monday night and the Thursday evenings. So tomorrow night's World Endurance Championship round, and also the second round of the European Le Mans series over on Monday. They'll be streamed public as per normal. It's just these sort of practice streams, as well as maybe some others as well that we'll do if the number of members continues to grow here on the channel. So yeah, fancy becoming a member, feel free to do so. If you don't want to part ways with cash, that's totally fine as well. I appreciate the support nonetheless. Either way, thank you very much everyone, ladies and gentlemen, for coming in and tuning into this live stream, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow, where we'll have the final setup and hopefully a good race here at COTA. Until then though, have fun, look after yourselves, stay safe and take care.